So we're on our way to buy some more paint. We bought 2.5 litres of paint for the bedroom, but it isn't enough, so we've got to go and get another. I'm going to get 2.5 litres just to be sure.
He reckoned that 2.5 would be
Plenty.
Not that much more expensive than one.
Yeah, so. and plus I'd rather have too much than him scrimping.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're off to get paint.
Gives us some for repairs as well.
Yeah.
If it comes to it.
I've been to let the chickens out, and I mean the cockerel is just, he's there. His bottom needs cleaning again, which is a shame. I've carried him out into the garden, but he's just standing. I don't know, I think he's just taking a long time to die, which is very sad, but I think that's what's going on.
We're sort of assuming it's old age, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. Just old and worn out after having, gate worm and being ill, and or maybe he's dying of a broken heart. He lost his wives. Everybody else, all the other chickens are doing fine. I noticed that the Marin, the black chicken, is looking much more chicken sized to me now. Now maybe that's because I've adapted, or maybe it's because it's growing. I'm sure she's growing. She must be growing. The white one's slimmer, but they're both a good size now. Mrs. Brahm as well. So Duncan is he's got another coat to put on in our bedroom. He's doing some painting in the kitchen where, when I had the new kitchen fitted, there's areas of plaster that needed painting, so he's doing that. He is putting a conduit up where he has put the cable in for the Starlink. He insists on a conduit. We're not really bothered, but he likes it to look just so.
I am.
You're bothered?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
It'll look neater.
Okay, so he's going to do that, and he's going to and then he's going to touch it up with the paint from the lounge. He's also fixing the pergola with very long, big bolts, bolting it all pieces of the pergola into the wall.
Technique I hadn't even known of.
No,
you drill a big hole, which, I mean, he's got to drill a little do-it, and you put resin into it, 2-part resin, you squeeze in, put the bolt in, leave it for an hour, and it's set so hard, it's rock solid.
Yeah.
And providing you've drilled the bolt through the uprights of the pergola, then you can bolt up the pergola to stay in place.
Maybe that's what they did when they put the shutter dogs on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's probably what I think that is what they use. Looking at the mark that's there, the stain from that sort of as the resins run down the wall a bit. I remember that actually when they fixed on the new shutters, that there was that sort of marking around the hinges and the shutter dogs. So yeah, so the pergola's going to be fixed, and then he's got painting, and that's it for him today. But we found another job. Mark's really pleased, aren't you pleased?
I had nightmares about it.
It's clear my way.
Not clear my way.
I don't know if I'm blocking your view, so that's why I'm shouting clear my way. You had nightmares?
Where?
Why did you have nightmares?
Well, the thought of all the stuff I've got to shift. Racks of CDs that I've collected over decades, and great big lumps of furniture that have got to be shifted.
But just think how lovely your bunker will look when he's done it.
Yeah, if I'm still alive.
You'll be alive. You expecting not to be alive?
Well, all the effort is going to involve is going to.
Oh right, okay. So the bunker, Mark's bunker, is when we first moved here had been a ground floor bedroom for, I think, used for an elderly relative, because there was a door through into the bathroom, which is now laundry room, and the bath had handholds on it and things for disabled people. So we think it had been put in for an elderly relative. It's a single skin. Is it single skin, the room?
Which one?
Your bunker. It's not.
The far wall between the bunker and the utility room is rock.
Yeah.
So it would have been a structural wall. I think between
it's normal.
Between the bunker and the kitchen, I think is.
Well, it's very thick, isn't it? Because that was the original outside wall, or wall between a stable or
Maybe.
something. Anyway, the carpet in there, which is grey, old. I can't explain it, but it's those grey black carpets. Has been there the 18 years that we've been there, and there's a cyclist on this. That's what the tractor's slowed down for, and was probably there at least 15 years before we got there. So the carpet in there is probably about 30 years old, and it's been glued to the floor. We don't know what the floor is or what it's glued, what it's glued to, but it's glued. So the carpet's been glued down. And that's looking pretty, isn't it?
That's incredible.
Yeah. Some of the fields are now dying back, but that's just at its
I think
best.
they must be facing that way where the sun is coming up.
But it's a lot of the fields now are beginning to go over, but this is just. I'll just keep pointing at this for a bit.
Because in French they're called tournesol, which means turn to the sun, which is what sunflowers do, of course.
So we're talking to Duncan, having a cup of tea yesterday, and talking to Duncan, and talked about replacing the floor. And then talked about, well, if you're going to replace the floor, you may as well have the whole room decorated at the same time. And he talked about time scale, how long it would take, and actually it's probably only a week, which isn't too bad really. But there's a lot of stuff in there. All of Mark's unmade kits are in a cupboard in a big wardrobe type thing, so there's masses of those. All of his made models will need moving, all of his shelving will need moving, all of his storage will need moving. And one of the things I thought about last night was your table.
Yeah.
That'll have to go in the carport.
I suppose.
Leave the car out and put that in the carport. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to move, which is what is off-putting for Mark, and I can understand that.
And all the made kits will have to be put somewhere flat and safe. Means the dining room table and more, I think.
Yeah.
Because there are so many delicate parts on those.
But we'll cope.
What's this we?
Well, I'll help you. That's what this we is. I'll help you. Don't have to do it all on your own. And the difference between me and Mark is he always sees obstacles where I see. No, hold on. What is it? You see obstacles where I see. Oh, I can't think what the word is.
I see hard work.
You see hard work, yeah, okay, and obstacles. And I see potential. That wasn't the word, but it'll be really nice. And whilst we have a tame person who we know works well and does good work, it's a good idea to do it. So that's the plan. We don't know when he'll be able to do it. He's very busy. It's difficult to get him because he's in demand. But if it's not done by the first week in October, if that's not the plan, then it'll have to wait till February, because Mark's second knee will be done on the 16th of October. So
The third knee next year.
third knee, yes, next year, yeah. Now you're showing off. So it's much cooler. What is it? 21 out there, but it's, as you can see, it's quite grey and overcast. It's so nice to have the cool weather and having
Tractor's pulled off.
air coming into the house and windows open. So there's quite a lot of activity in the hamlet. It's that time of year, so we've got several families in. There's another family in their maison secondaire up the road opposite Manuel, and I keep hearing children's voices, hearing a baby crying. Our Parisian neighbour's still there. She's there till the 22nd. So it's quite odd, really. And then it goes quiet. I can remember every year it suddenly goes quiet and back to normal. And then I get a bit, even though I find it, especially at the beginning when they all arrive, I find it a bit difficult. I get used to it and adapt. And then it goes quiet. And as soon as that happens, and September comes, I start thinking, oh God, we're heading into autumn. That only lasts a couple of days. And sometimes our September, October and even November can carry on being very comfortable in sort of like a Indian summer, which I'm sure is what will happen this year. That sunflower field you saw the other day is now going over. The heads are beginning to hang. That video I shared of those two Stepford wives was very frightening, terrifying. And a lot of people on Twitter were saying, why are they talking to us like we're 6-year-olds? It was just, well, it sounded like women in a cult, and of course they are.
What's this? I must have missed this one so far.
I shared it on YouTube on my, you don't look at my channel.
I do sometimes.
Okay, well I shared a post with a link to it, and it's in that, it's also in that Memoirs group.
Oh yeah.
It's a link to a training video for, I can't remember, but for
something 25.
2020, the Project 2025.
Yes.
But I watched about 15 minutes of it. It was way too painful to watch. It was excruciating, but it's important. It's well worth at least attempting to watch it, to give you a flavour of what you're facing if Trump comes to power, gets into power.
I've seen bits about Project 2025 every so often on Facebook, and the bits I don't avoid seeing are horrific.
I know. Well, it is the whole, losing your human rights. All the government starting to control you and
Especially
do all
women, I think.
women losing their rights to control their womb and choose what they do with it. And I was also watching briefly yesterday the reliving the hearing of Brett Kavanaugh, which was when the Supreme Court just got
He loaded it with
bum rushed, I suppose, or
he loaded
whatever.
it with Trump-supporting judges, didn't he?
Well, he just put in judges that would, so the Supreme Court, even with a Democratic government, even with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the Supreme Court are still dangerous.
I saw something about that. One of the proposals is that nobody will be allowed to divorce again.
Well, yeah, that's just the way. It wouldn't surprise me at all. You can't do this. You can't. It's like they're going to be telling you what you can do, governing your body. It is Stepford Wives stuff.
Unbelievable.
And I sort of think that the men that want that are the men that you don't want as your husband.
Yeah.
The men that want to control you, the men that want to have all the power. And it's the terrifying thing is this. It's so corrupt. There's so much corruption that even if Kamala Harris got in, which I really hope she does, they're still so corrupt. God knows what will happen. And, again, people say, it's none of your business, you're not American, but it is my business. Because Trump wants to pull out of NATO. Our safety, the safety of the world, relies on the leader of the free world. And the President of the United States is the leader of the free world.
And in the Western world, I think Britain and possibly Europe, there are similar sorts of movements, pro-life, anti-abortion again, and it's going on. Farage will come out with it before long, I'm sure, but if he hasn't already, and I've missed it.
Oh dear. Anyway, that's ruined your road trip, isn't it? I'm still watching The Stitchery, which I did share a link to Charlie, whose surname Beebe, Charlie, whose surname I can't remember. She has got 2 channels. She's got a separate channel where she monologues while she's stitching. She monologues a lot anyway while she's stitching, but it's more monologue, and I can't explain it. But I really have been sort of binge watching, and I'm not a sewer, but I like watching the Great British Sewing Bee. I just like listening to her. I'm fascinated by her, and she's comfortable to listen to, and I don't know how she does it. She just monologues, and I came across her on a road trip through England, going through parts of England that we'd lived in and that I knew well, so that was nice. And I've watched her in Paris, and I've watched her doing castles in the Loire Valley, watched her making clothes. She seems very confident to me when you see her at the end of the clothes that she's been making, when she does her bit of modelling. She seems very confident, very comfortable in her body, which is lovely, because that's quite often women aren't. And she's not skinny, she's not fat, but she's not skinny, but she just feels really comfortable in her body, which is really nice to see in a young woman. So yeah, I enjoy it. Not everybody's cup of tea, perhaps. We were in Leclerc yesterday. We did a bit of shopping. I needed to do some shopping. My fridge was sort of getting very empty, and it was very busy. So it was busy. I could hear some English voices, but there were a lot of French people in there, and I just think it was busy. It was Tuesday, and it was just busy with people that had perhaps arrived over the weekend and hadn't come out to shop beforehand because it was too hot, or it just seemed really busy. And much to Mark's dismay, we ate there. Oh. Well, you had veal, didn't you? What was it? Sort of like a minced veal, was it? Like a savoury minced veal?
I mean, like most French cuisine, it's canteen mass food, but it's decent. Yeah, I think they use good ingredients. I think it's not haute cuisine at all, but
not
it's
in Leclerc.
good. It's not bad at all.
No, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
I had my normal jambon.
About an inch thick, wasn't it?
It was really thick. I really had to struggle through it. It was tender though. Jambon frites et choux Brussels sprouts that had been done to within an inch of their life, with some lard on in them.
They were nice.
I had my entree. So Mark has a main and a dessert, and I have an entree and a main. My entree was melon with some Bayonne ham or something. But I started tucking into it, and there was only the Bayonne. That seems really close, that curb. I don't know why. The Bayonne ham was very brief, and I started eating the melon, and I thought, oh, it's more like dessert now, so I stopped eating that and had some of it afterwards, but I couldn't eat it all because the ham had been filling. Yeah, so that's a cheap meal. But I think when you eat cheap, it's very rarely we've been for a cheap meal here and been unhappy with it. It's always good food, isn't it? We always get good food.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be cooked there. It's cooked off site now. It gets bought in. But they did used to cook on site there, I think, when we first came. I need the pharmacy as well. Are we going in there? Oh, come in on the way back, because we'll be on the right side of the road on the way back.
Go in there now if you like.
Well, whatever. Okay. Oh. So today I will do lunch at lunchtime. I bought some wraps yesterday, gluten free for me, and maize, corn and blé, so corn and wheat wraps for Mark, although I think I'm probably going to have those. I got bread out the other day. I said to Mark, I want BLTs, just want BLTs, and I got bread out and I had BLTs, and seemed to have survived. So I think now and again I can have a bit of gluten, so I think I might have the maize wraps because they look nice. Okay, that's it. Finished. See you next time.